Am I the asshole for eating at my boyfriend's family's Christmas dinner? Throw away just to be safe. As a child, whenever I was invited at people's houses, my mom told me it was etiquette to eat the food they made. She would always tell me to put a considerable amount and eat all of it since it would be rude not to. First, she said it would be wasting food, and second, it would seem as if I didn't enjoy the food, which is mean since a lot of effort was put into making it. I've always followed this rule and thought it was true. If I cooked a buttload of food and no one ate, I'd be heartbroken. My boyfriend of 7 months invited me to his family Christmas dinner. I've met his parents very briefly, but nothing too formal. Anyway, we get to the food and I was pretty hungry and everything looked really amazing. I made sure to fill my plate, but not overfill, just equal amounts of everything on the table. I ate it all and, to be honest, was pretty stuffed. His mother then asked me if I wanted seconds. There was still a lot of food on the table. I took her up on the offer and put a bit more of the pasta salad. My boyfriend did give me a strange look, but I thought nothing of it at the time. Dessert comes and I chose to eat a slice of cheesecake. We then had coffee, all sitting around the fire and telling funny stories. Everyone seemed like in a very good mood and everything was great. After everything, I was honestly so happy, because I was worried about dinner and meeting his parents, but I thought that everything went well. We left his parents' house in separate cars as I came directly from my parents' house to him. We reach my apartment and I can tell he is totally pissed off. I asked him what was wrong and he just blew up in my face that I had no manners, telling me that he had never seen me eat as much as I did at his parents' house, and that it was so embarrassing. After further prying, he said that in his culture, when you eat a lot at a person's house, it is disrespectful because you should never go to a house on an empty stomach. He said it makes a person look desperate and there is a language barrier between me and him, and he said in a way fat. But not fat. Honestly, I did not understand. He said on the car ride home his mom was talking about how embarrassing and unmannered I was to eat so much. I told him that she told me to put seconds and he said that's done to be a good hostess, but a guest should never take up on that offer. He said it would have been fine if I had declined dessert, but because I had not down that I looked even more fat. I explained to him my reasoning and he called that bullshit. I honestly feel terrible, but told him if he explained to me beforehand I wouldn't have eaten so much. But he said he thought it was common knowledge. It's been 2 days and neither of will really talk until the other apologizes. I know it's petty to not apologize, but I sincerely don't think I did anything wrong. But I guess that's why I'm here. Edit. I've been debating on whether revealing where my boyfriend is from. I do not want to put any disrespect on his culture, or receive offense comments from where he is from. But I have been receiving a lot of comments, so his whole family is Arab, I am Mexican. But I am not saying all Arabs follow this rule, really I do not know, so please refrain from anything hateful. Not the asshole, that's so toxic. You didn't even know about these cultural rules. I hate saying break up with him, but break up with him. You were just trying to be nice and you enjoyed the food. Not the asshole. That sounds like some impossible game to play where no one ever wins. Either you are rude for eating too much or rude for declining a host's offer of seconds. Throw the boyfriend and the whole family away. NTA. If these are the rules in his parents' home, he should have told you this before you ever went there for dinner. A lot of my family is Arab, with vast regional representation, from North Africa through the Gulf and Southwest Asia. And I've traveled extensively across the Arabic-speaking world. And this is most emphatically not a cultural norm among any people I've ever encountered. My grandmother always loved non-Arab guests who had seconds, even thirds, when visiting her home. This sounds like a norm unique to his family, and one he should have prepared you for. The culture excuse is bullshit. You are not the asshole. Not the asshole. Unless he told you, you couldn't have known. There are plenty cultures that actually love it when you take seconds, as it shows you appreciate their food. My girlfriend is also from a different country and her family always like it when I eat more. I don't see why it's such an issue from your BF side of the family. Not the asshole, you are being gaslighted. In no damn culture I know of being invited to dinner that no one eats. WTF is dinner for if all the guests do is sit there and politely decline. Your mom is absolutely right. If the host invites you to dinner, you eat a little of everything even if you don't like it, to show gratitude and appreciation. Now flip that as a host, you want your guest to eat and be full. Food should be shared and a meal is so much better when shared versus eaten alone. Yeah, I would have reservation about this guy. He's calling you fat while not saying it directly. Not the asshole, run far, far away from his bullshit. He should have told you this expectation, but he got mad at you because he failed to tell you. Even after he had time to cool off and reflect on the situation, you are still wrong and he is giving you the silent treatment. I think he just gave you a preview of what your relationship would be like forever. Don't ignore this giant red flag. Not the asshole. If he didn't explain his cultural norms, how can he, and his mother, justify being upset? As a side note, it's rude and inhospitable to criticize a dinner guest for eating dinner. Am I the asshole for not moving in with my long-term boyfriend? I, 27 female, have been together with my boyfriend, 29 male, for 10 years. Currently, he's living in the family home, where he grew up with his brother, his brother's wife and their 2 children. My boyfriend's parents have bought a second house a few years back to live in after they've both retired. Because of COVID and the possibility to work from home, they've already moved there but spend one night a week in the old home. The brother, his wife and 2 children will buy a house in January and will move there sometime next year. In order to be able to buy this house he needs a lot of money, so my boyfriend agreed to buy the family home off of his parents. The brother will get the money as his part of the heritage. So far, so good. No for the bad part. The parents will sell the house for a lot less money than it's actually worth, but because of this they added a line in the contract which allows them to have a live-long right of residence in the family home. This includes their old bedroom, so this room cannot be altered at all. For the next 4 years they'll continue spending one night a week here because of work. After those 4 years, they'll both be retired so they won't come over as often but they will occasionally. My boyfriend told me this after he and his parents agreed on that contract. But to be honest, for me this is a hard no. In my eyes, this will never be our home, our house. It'll always be their home, they'll interfere with every decision. And my worst fear would be that when the parents get older and cannot live on their own anymore, they'll just return to the old family home, because they can. And I'm not willing to live in constant fear of that happening. So I told my boyfriend that I will not move in with him into that house as long as this line within that contract exists. I want to have my own place to live and start a family in. I'm not going to share it with my future in-laws. Now his side of the family is guilt-tripping me and telling me I'm the reason our relationship will end. But honestly, no. I wasn't included in any part of drawing up that contract and instead was presented with a fait accompli. Even though I feel like this also concerns me, somehow. So, please tell me Reddit, am I the asshole because I'm not going to move in there and share a home with my in-laws until the end of their days? And #X200B. Edit. Holy. I did not expect this to blow up like this. Thank you to everyone for taking the time to read and comment here. I really appreciate each and every comment and I've read every single one of them, but it's so many, I can't respond to all of them anymore. Reading all of your thoughts and opinions opened my eyes and has helped me a lot. I'll be talking to my boyfriend and I will keep you updated. Not the asshole. You weren't included in the drawing up of the contract but they expect you to go along with everything in the contract. That line would be a problem for most people. It doesn't give you freedom in your own home and allows his parents to come over whenever they want and use their bedroom. It just sounds like you'll feel like renters with a live-in landlord, even though you'll own the house. Edit. I've realized I said you'll own. I do mean that the boyfriend will, but due to you living there the issues are still the same. You'd be uncomfortable with the lack of freedom in a home you'll be living in. Go forth and be single. Not the asshole. If his plans for the future included you, he would have talked to you about it first and asked you for your thoughts on the matter. He would have taken them into consideration and together y'all would have agreed or disagreed. I get that it's the family home, but you're going to be his family and making drastic, expensive, lifelong decisions like that need to be done together. Will he be making decisions like this in the future? That's very irresponsible and very controlling. Also, personally, I'm creeped out by the idea that his parents can just come and go whenever, and that you won't even get the master suite. Not the asshole, not at all. I agree, it would never be your home. You weren't involved in the discussion or agreement, you have the complete right to say no. They will totally move back in and be cared for when they can no longer cope alone, and I can't see your boyfriend lifting a finger and not relying on you to do it. Major red flag that your partner of 10 years doesn't even include you in the decision-making process. Not the asshole, and you are very smart girl to foresee future problems with this arrangement. If you are buying a house, no one else should own the house and disallowing you to do anything to the house. You should really talk it out with your boyfriend. Not the asshole. Please stand firm, you're 100% not the asshole. It's easy for others to guilt-trip you, but their in-laws will not move in with them when they need care. They will move in with you. Even worse. Technically you move in with them. Which allows them to have a live-long right of residence in the family home. That way you can have all the disadvantages of buying a house with none of the advantages who would refuse. Anyone. Not the asshole. Interesting that the brother gets to leave, gets his privacy and gets a boatload of cash while your boyfriend gets a house he can't remodel with weekend tenants. Is the brother's wife glad to be out of the house? How did she handle living with the in-laws? It's okay to not move into a situation where you aren't ever guaranteed a weekend alone with your partner. Am I the asshole for insulting my sister after she announced her pregnancy at Christmas? Happy holidays all. Here's hoping yours turned out better than mine. I, 24F, am the youngest of 4, and I've never been particularly close to my eldest sister Jenny, 37F. She started dating her now ex-husband Sam, 38M, when they were in high school, so he's pretty much been around my entire life. Sam is a really great guy. He was an older brother to me growing up, and my other sisters and I all have a great relationship with him. Jenny and Sam have 2 kids together, my nephew and niece who are 8 and 5. About 3 years ago, Jenny and Sam's relationship completely fell apart and she left him and moved to a different city. I've heard both sides of the story and I know I'm inherently biased against my sister, because she left my ex Bill to raise 2 kids by himself. Things were pretty rough after she left, but we all pitched in and did our best to help with the kids. My sister and Sam eventually finalized their divorce and she gave up custody of the kids, and is very low contact with them. I know Sam blamed himself for her leaving because she had accused him of not loving her as much as he loved the kids, but the rest of my family were firmly on his side. He did eventually move on and started dating one of his close friends at the beginning of this year. Fast forward to 2 months ago, my sister moved back to our city with a new boyfriend. She's only been to see her kids once, supervised, and my niece almost didn't recognize her. My parents still wanted the opportunity to finally have Christmas as a complete family again. I thought the whole thing would be a disaster before it even began. I knew my ex Bill only planned to stay long enough to drop off the kids and say a quick hello to everyone else. In the 15-minute window he was at my parents' house, my sister announced that she was pregnant and things went downhill after that. The kids were so confused and my niece asked if the new baby would live with them. My sister laughed and said the baby would live with her and her boyfriend. My ex Bill left with the kids in tow and I kind of lost it. I yelled at my sister and called her selfish and cruel and a whole slew of insults, anything I could come up with in the moment, before storming out myself. My other sisters support my actions, but my parents are disappointed that I reacted that way and made a scene during Christmas. They're not demanding that I apologize or anything, but have put me on one heck of a guilt trip and want me to resolve things with my sister. I'm perfectly happy not being in contact with her given what she's put my niece and nephew through. But I do wonder if I reacted too harshly? Was I an asshole? Not the asshole. Your sister turned Christmas into a way to dunk on her ex and her own kids. The kids were so confused and my niece asked if the new baby would live with them. My sister laughed and said the baby would live with her and her boyfriend. This is the worst part. She told her own kids that their half-sibling wouldn't be staying with them and laughed at them. She's cruel and heartless. Definitely not the asshole. Not the asshole. She was cruel to her kids for literally no reason. Watch her in 25 years ranting about, "None of my kids care about me," and playing victim when she obviously couldn't care less about them now that they need a mom. Not the asshole because of the timing. She completely left her children, a lifelong commitment, simply because she felt as though her husband wasn't paying enough attention to her and showing her love. She is punishing the kids for her relationship problems and torturing them by announcing she's starting a new family right in front of them. She's cruel and got what was coming to her. Not the asshole. She abandoned her kids and then effectively dangled her replacement baby in front of them. She's really not fit to be a parent. Not the asshole. She was intentionally cruel to her own children. That is a woman who needs a lot of therapy. Sometimes the only way for the obvious to be heard is to declare it loudly. Your sister is obviously an asshole, but for some reason is clueless about how her actions are hurting her kids and everyone else. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. She waited until her children, that she proudly abandoned, were in the house to tell everyone. That is just sick. She deserved backlash. It seems like your parents enable her insane behavior, so I'm sure y'all will have another baby to raise pretty soon. Not the asshole. You've had to be around to see the fallout of your sister abandoning her kids, so I think you're entitled to a little outburst. It's too bad Santa couldn't bring your sister an ounce of common sense for Christmas. Am I the asshole for calling my wife a cheapskate for giving our kids used Christmas gifts? I, 46M, and my wife, 45F, have 2 kids together. Our daughter is 11F and my son turned 12 in December. My wife lost her job due to everything that happened this past year and has become very frugal with spending. I do have a very successful job that helps pays the bills and food. We were planning on taking a trip to visit family for Christmas, but my wife voted against the idea as it would be too expensive. This Christmas, we had a budget for our kids being $75 each to spend on them and then $50 to spend on each other. I went out and bought the kids most of the items that they wanted on their list. When I showed my wife, she was not thrilled and told me that she would take care of the shopping. I went out and bought my wife a few gifts while staying in the budget. When our kids went to open our gifts, I was looking forward to seeing them with huge smiles on their face. My daughter opened her gifts and looked at us saying none of this stuff was on the list. My son opened his gifts and stormed up to his room. Both kids had gotten old broken toys, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrushes, things that no kid wants. When the kids were out of the room, I turned to my wife and say you returned all the gifts that I had bought that were on the list and stayed within the budget. You couldn't stop being a cheapskate for one day. She looked at me and told me that she would be spending the day with her family alone. She left and hasn't spoken to me since. I cooked the kids a wonderful dinner and heard from my wife that she would be staying with her family for a few days. Am I the asshole for calling my wife a cheapskate for giving our kids used Christmas gifts? Not the asshole. That was foul. It sounds like she is having some serious personal issues and it's probably good she left for a few days. Try to be understanding as much as you can. She is the asshole, but I don't think she wanted to be. There has to be something else going on, cause this makes no sense. Good luck. Not the asshole. Go buy your kids real gifts. Give your wife the toothpaste. Not the asshole. You both agreed on a budget that would work for your financial situation. She decided to then return everything and give broken items for Christmas. Sounds like an asshole move to me. I see absolutely no problem with buying things from thrift stores or shopping cheap. What made me mad, reading this, was that she returned the gifts you already purchased to buy her kids things they didn't want. What a terrible and selfish thing to do. You are not the asshole, but your wife certainly is. Not the asshole sounds like she's letting her money anxieties get the better of her and she's going behind your back, which is unacceptable. This was not what you guys agreed. She's managed to upset her whole family, and although it should always be the thought that counts, in this case she's been unreasonable. This story doesn't add up. Op's wife is behaving very much like a woman who is 1 inch away from starting divorce proceedings for financial mismanagement issues, blaming Op. While Op is painting a picture of an unhinged, controlling wife and mother with zero concept of their actual finances. So many missing pieces to this story. NTA. I'm not opposed to giving used things as gifts, but broken things is not acceptable at my house. I am all about stretching my dollars to stay within my budget, but that was just a terrible thing that she did. Op seems unreliable. His successful job helps pay the food and bills. If the wife is vetoing original ideas that cost money, sounds like Op is the fun parent who doesn't respect the household budgeting, then she leaves and he makes the kids a wonderful dinner. Something doesn't smell right with this story. Of course, if all the info alone in the gifts is right, then something bigger and more mentally concerning is going on here for the wife. Sad situation for the kids all around.